You're welcome to today's lesson on how to answer YSSE questions on idioms. I am Rumeso Adeyemo with the brand name English with RMG. And this video is proudly brought to you by IOTA Virtual Learning Platform. So in this video, you are going to learn proven tips and strategies to answer YSSE questions on idioms with practical solving of the YSSE past questions on idioms. So get your learning materials ready and let's do this. Are you ready? Let's begin. But before we go into the questions, what are idioms? Let's talk about idioms for a moment. So, idioms are phrases which cannot be understood simply by looking at the meaning of the individual words in the phrases. In other words, an idiom is a group of words that communicates a meaning that is not deducible from the individual words. What do I mean by that? By looking at the individual words in a phrase or a group of words that is an idiom, you cannot tell the meaning of that word just by doing that. You need to have a background knowledge or look deeply into the context for you to get the meaning of an idiomatic expression. For example, if I say, it is raining cats and dogs, I do not mean that cats and dogs are actually falling from the sky. What I mean that it is raining heavily. Now you can see that there is no relationship between cats and dogs and heavy rain. So that is why it is called idiomatic expression. No literal meaning. Also, if I say, he kicked the bucket, I do not actually mean the physical action of kicking a bucket. What I mean is that he died or it ended. Do you understand? So, idioms are expressions with deeper meaning, hidden meaning, embedded meaning that you need to decipher by having a prior knowledge of that expression or by looking into the context for you to get the meaning correctly. Do you understand? So, if I say that you cannot get the meaning just by looking at the words, how then do you understand the meanings of the idioms in your examination questions so that you can get your answer correctly? Don't worry about that. I'm going to give you some tips and strategies. In fact, 6 proven tips and strategies that you can employ so that you can always get your answers correctly, despite the fact that you cannot get the meaning literally. Do you understand? So before going into the question, I want you to note that all questions on idioms are usually on the section 3 of your paper 1 WAEC questions. If you have been solving the past question and you have been paying attention to the structures, you would have noticed this. So all the questions I'm going to be using here, they are practical questions from this section. So I'm not going to just be using random questions. I'm going to be using real questions from the past question. That is your WAEC past questions. Are you ready? So let's begin. Tip and strategy number 1. Pay attention to the context. You really need to pay attention to the context. When you are faced with a question on idiom that you don't even know the meaning, that is, pay attention to how the idiom is used in the sentence, how it is presented to you, the situation spoken about in that sentence, and sometimes you should also consider the options in the question so that you can arrive at the correct answer. So I'm not just going to give you this strategy without exemplifying it. So now let's go into the past question so that we can exemplify how to use the context to deduce the meaning of an idiom. So here we have a question from the WAEC past question. We have, the man has lost a lot and he only keeps up appearances by driving a big car. So now first, let me underline the idiom in this expression so that you can see it clearly. So the idiom here is keeps up appearances. So let's assume that you don't even know the meaning of keep up appearances. Do you understand? So now let's look at the context. We have, the man has lost a lot. When someone has lost a lot, you don't expect that kind of person to be driving a big car. Do you understand? So that means that the person has moved from grace to grass. So this kind of person should be walking on foot now. But this man is still driving a big car. So that means the man is trying to save his face. The man is trying to cover up for himself. The man is trying to pretend as though all is well, or as though he hasn't lost anything, when indeed he has lost a lot. Do you understand? So by looking at the context here, we can decipher the meaning of keep up appearances. So the question is from question 23, 2023 WAEC past question. So let's look at the options. We have A, intend to work harder. So we were never told about how much the man wants to work harder now. B, pretends that all is well. So that's probably our answer, but let's check all the options. C, wants everybody to see him. No. We were not told that the man was trying to get attention. D, wants to please his people. That's not also a possible answer because the expression didn't tell us that the man is trying to get an attention. What the man was just trying to do is that he was trying to cover up for himself as though all is still well, when in fact he has lost a lot. So that is why we arrive at our answer to be what? B, pretends that all is well. So our answer will be what? Our answer will be B. The man has lost a lot and he only keeps up appearances by driving a car. That is, he only pretends that all is well by driving a car, a big car. Do you understand? I hope you are paying attention to how I'm using the context to decipher the meaning of the idiom. So I'm also going to look at another question that we can use the contextual knowledge to get the meaning of the idiom. Despite the fact that so this is another question from the YSSE past question. The class captain got cold feet when he was asked to lead the protest. What does this expression mean? Let me underline the idiom first. So the idiom here is what? God's cold feet. And we already know that idioms do not have literal meaning. So this does not mean that the class captain feet was wet. Do you understand? Let's analyze the context. Class captain, protest. He's a leader, yes, but now he has been asked to lead a protest. In a protest, you are not really sure of what is going to be the outcome. So this might get you worried that, oh, what if this protest didn't go as planned? What if I get arrested for leading a group of people to protest? Do you understand? What if this protest gets hijacked by hoodlums? So there are lots of uncertainties around staging a protest. So what could this class captain be feeling in this moment? So A, nervous. B, afraid. C, concerned. D, calm. So let's look at this option. Let's start from option D, calm. You can't be calm when you want to lead a protest because you'll be concerned, yeah, about the uncertainties. But is it just being concerned? B, afraid. Afraid is more in a context of maybe you're afraid of a particular thing like snake. You already know what you're afraid of. But when you are nervous, it means that you are unsure about the outcome of a particular endeavor that you're about to embark on, such as an interview. Do you understand? Or like staging a protest like we have in this context. So that is why our answer cannot be afraid, concerned, or calm, because we need to pick the option that best explain the expression in the context that it is used. Do you understand? So that is why our answer is going to be what? Our answer is going to be A, nervous. The class captain got nervous when he was asked to lead the protest because he was unsure of what the outcome of the protest is going to be. Do you understand? So by looking at the context and try to think about it, we could get the answer. Now let's move on to question 21 from 2018 past question. So we have, can you imagine Oka behaving as if he has all the knowledge in the world? So let's try to put this into context. This is not just a question. If we look at the sentence, the content of the sentence, we will see that it is not just a question. It is also an exclamation. The speaker is like, can you imagine Oka, that is Oka of all people, behaving as if he has all the knowledge in the world? So this is like an exclamation. And this is the speaker expressing his opinion about who Oka is. That is, Oka is not known to be someone that is smart enough to give his opinion in that context. Do you understand? So let's look at the options to see which best interprets this sentence. So we have A, does not really know anything. B, knows so much more than we think. C, is admired by everybody. D, respect other people. So let's start from D. Respect other people. This sentence didn't even talk about respect at all. So D is out. C is admired by everybody. The sentence didn't tell us about what people think about him. Do you understand? It's just about one person's opinion about him. So now B, not so much more than we think. No, this exclamation is more like mocking him. Do you understand? If you pay attention to the content, it's more like mocking him that, oh, Oka that I used to know do not have any commendable opinion. So why would he now think that he has all the knowledge in the world to give his opinion on this issue? Do you understand? So the most suitable interpretation for this sentence is what? Oka does not really know anything. Do you understand? So that is why our answer is going to be what? Our answer is going to be A. Oka does not really know anything. Now, strategy 2, relate it to real life experiences. And this is very important because language natural phenomenon for everybody that can talk in life. So we use it to express our feelings, our emotions. So all you need to do is bring the context into a real life experience, into your real life experience. Is this really possible? Do you understand? So you can use your knowledge to answer the question. So let's consider this using question 21 from 2020 WAEC past question. So here we have, my grandmother once told me that old habits die hard. So this means that old habits dash. So first of all, before we go into the meaning, let me underline the idiom here. Old habits die hard. So what does it mean to say that something die hard? Let me bring it into real life. You must have seen some people with some habits, probably like someone who suck their thumb. If you have someone like that around you, if you caution them this minute to remove the thumb from their mouth, before the next minute, they are going to return that thumb back into their mouth because they are already familiar, they are already used to this particular habit. The same way, if you know your mom to have a particular habit, probably she shouts, she is used to it. No matter how much you ask her not to shout, or maybe you try to tell her that you don't like her shouting, she's still going to continue shouting because it is an old habit for her. So that means that old habits are not easy, do you understand, to correct or to change. Do you understand? So when we bring it into real life experiences, when we say old habits, what is it that is likely to happen to old habits in real life when we try to put it into our day-to-day experiences with people? Do you understand? So let's look at the options. A, easily corrected. B, does it mean that old habits are difficult to change? C, does it mean that old habits are short-lived? D, does it mean that old habits are forever changing? So you can't say that it is forever changing because that means that it is easy to change. The same thing, short lived also means that it is easy to correct. Do you understand? A also means that it is easy to correct. So the only option that interprets this question is what? Difficult to change. Old habits are difficult to change. And that is why our answer will be what? B, difficult to change. That is, my grandmother once told me that old habits are difficult to change. So that's the meaning of this idiom in this context. I hope you are getting how I'm using these strategies to interpret the question so that you can as well adapt it into your questions when you try to answer them, whether prior before the exam or in your examination hall. So now let's look at another one on relating it to real life experiences. So we have question 25 from WAEC 2019 past question. So here we have, looking after young children can tax one's patience. This means that looking after children is dash. So let's bring this into our real life experience. You must have seen one young child somewhere. Some of you might even have younger ones at home. Do you understand? And you'll realize that looking after children is not really fun. It's not easy because sometimes they cry for no reason. Sometimes they cry because they want to sleep. Sometimes they cry just because they want chocolates or candies. So looking after young children is not fun, especially for a long period of time. If you just play with them for a few minutes, you might not really notice this. But when you need to look after them, you realize that you are going to need to be patient in order for you to be able to take good care of them. Do you understand? So, what does that mean? What does tax one's patience mean in this context that I've tried to bring it into real life experience? So, we have A, is pleasant. From my explanation, looking after your own children, you know in reality it's not pleasant. B is a lot of fun. It is not a lot of fun. So our answer cannot be B. C requires endurance. Then D takes time. So it also takes time, but what you really need is what? Endurance. Because if you don't even have that patience, you can't spend the time with them. Do you understand? So the best answer here is what? C. Looking after young children can tax one's patience. That is, looking after young children requires endurance. It requires patience. It requires lots of endurance. Do you understand? So our answer is what? C. Requires endurance. I hope you are getting the logic. If you don't understand this, if you have any question, you can put it in the comment section. I'll be there to answer. And if you've not gotten anything correctly, you can just pause the video or take it back for a while to listen to it again. So now let's continue to question 27, 2019 past question. We are still on relating it to real life experiences. I'm using three questions for each strategy because I want you to know that this is actually applicable. I'm not just going there to pick one question just for you to see. No, I want you to see that yes, it is actually relatable to those questions. So here we have my hands rough driving could make one tear one's hair out. This means that a driving could dash. We know that idioms do not have literal meaning. So, tear one's hair out does not mean that you want to pull out your hair. So now bring it to real life experience. If you're in a car with your hand and she's driving rough on a highway, what are you going to feel like? Are you going to pull your hair from your head? No. What you are going to feel in this moment is you are going to feel scared, jittery. Do you understand? Nervous because you might be wondering, okay, what if an accident is about to happen? Will she be able to manage the situation because she's driving rough already? Do you understand? So that could actually mean A, lose the air on one's head. It is not a literal meaning, so that can be our answer. B, feel very bad. Yes, you can feel bad about it, but that does not really encapsulate what you're going to feel in that moment. C, get very worried. Then D, feel like crying. You could feel like crying, you could feel very bad. But what you're actually going to feel in that moment is worry because you'll be concerned about your safety and probably our safety as well. Do you understand? So our answer is going to be what? C. Get very worried. So if I say my aunt's rough driving could make one tear one's hair out, I'm saying that my aunt's rough driving could make one get very worried. Do you understand? I hope you are getting how I'm using relating the context to real life experiences to get my answer correctly so that I don't fall for the wrong answers that are similar to the correct answer. Now let's move on to the next strategy, which is strategy three. Pay attention to the tenses and the conjunctions in the expressions. In a nutshell, pay attention to the grammar. Do you understand? So some of the questions from this section, the section three of your paper one, all you need to do is understand some grammar rules. These are some of those questions. If you understand some grammar rules, then you'll be able to interpret the question. So we have question 23 from 2022 WAEC past question. It reads, had it not rained, I would have visited you. So what does this expression mean? Had here is a past tense of has and have, which is equals a conditional clause. So had it rained here simply means if it had not rained, that is, if it didn't rain, I would have visited you. Do you understand? I'm really sorry. I know this lesson is getting interesting, but I don't want this lesson to be too long for you. So kindly go to the description below to click on the link to the second part of this video. Please go there to click on it. Do not miss out on these proven tips and strategies for you to get your answers correctly in your YSSC questions on idioms. Again, this is English with RMG. Kindly like, share, and subscribe. Yeah, share with your friends who are also preparing for this exam. Let them benefit. Thank you.